Our political brush fires ignited all across Florida with the gubernatorial race. Well, you've got Charlie Crist.
They're going to say, speaking of trailblazers or something like that.
That's right, something like that. Blazing a trail from the Newsmax newsroom
burning
into
bridges.
the anchor desk.
There you go.
It's our friend Javier Manjarres of the Shark Tank political blog. So, the latest polls give us the lowdown on this epic battle between Charlie Crist and Governor Rick Scott.
Latest polls, Tampa Bay Times poll has Rick Scott up by 5 points. It's still within the margin of error. It's going to go down to the wire, I think, to the very last minute. But again, I think for the most part, the Charlie Crist campaign is becoming a little more desperate in their actions because they see the writing on the wall. I don't think they believe that they'd be this far behind. Not so much far behind, but this close with Rick Scott this late in the game.
So I heard little birdie told us that you were actually kicked out of a recent gathering.
Gatherings.
Gatherings. Oh,
Not
plural.
once,
That's
not-
right. There was
But
two
twice, yeah.
involving Charlie Crist campaign.
Right. The first one was about 2 weeks ago. I went to the Florida Democrat event rally in Fort Lauderdale with Charlie Crist and Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Right.
After being credentialed and being allowed inside, they realized, hey, what is he doing here? So they kicked me out, gave me the excuse that I was
We're seeing
kicked
some
out
video
because I
right
didn't
now.
have media credentials. Well, then they told me it was because I was a blogger. Then they told me it was because I was in cahoots with the Rick Scott campaign, which is not the case.
Well,
Wow.
now
So
this
you were
is-
given 3 different excuses.
Yeah, in this video, they weren't expecting me to be video recording the whole exchange with that guy right there, who happens to be Christian Colvert, and that's right there is the press secretary for the Florida Democrats. They weren't expecting me videotaping it as we spoke.
Now, it's one thing, they gave you credentials.
Right, they let me in, they took my information, they credentialed me in just like every other reporter, and then afterwards they decided to pull them like they did this past Friday at the Clinton event, whereas they credentialed me, they let me in, I spoke to staff, and then one overzealous staffer realized who I was, and sounded the alarms, and pretty much they asked me to leave because I was not part of the whole initial press course, which is ridiculous.
Well, now, I've had some experience with this,
Yes.
but it was a little different. Presidential debate.
You were there too?
The year 2000, the presidential debate in Phoenix when I was serving in
Okay.
Congress. Ed Gillespie was chairman of the Republican National Committee. He came out and said, hey, why don't we do this? Let's go downtown Phoenix and let's walk into the event.
You were kind of like wedding crashers.
That's
only
right.
Party
We were
crashers.
Democrat debate
Right.
crashers. The difference was we did not have credentials. Terry McAuliffe, the big Clinton
Yeah.
fundraiser, now the governor of Virginia. Hey, JD, good to see you. Hey, police, come here. And so, but our whole, we did that.
I have credentialed press
That's
been
the
vetted.
difference.
Right.
So were you kicked out of both events?
Both, yes.
Now, I don't understand this. You have to apply to get the credential. So you went in the first time and they said no.
The first time they didn't have application, you didn't have to apply prior because I just showed up and the other reporters that showed up did not apply. They were just taking their names down. The second one apparently.
And then they kicked you out.
Right. The second one apparently had to well, it was run by the Secret Service, so you had to be pre-approved. Well, when I got there, they still credentialed me. Secret Service and all, they still credentialed me at the event
And
this
you
past
checked
Friday.
out. Okay. And then.
Well, I was unarmed because they wouldn't let me, the Secret Service would not let me bring in my camera because the dog sniffing pooches weren't there any longer. I got there late because I wasn't planning on going to the event. So,
what made you try to go again?
Yeah, that becomes the question.
because the first event was Florida Democrats. I'm assuming they're going to boot me out every time they see me. This one was a Charlie Crist campaign event. Very different.
Right.
2 different events.
Right.
2 different hosts.
So you thought chances are good.
Well, I've been to Charlie Crist. I go to at least once a week, and I never been booted. They pretty much treat me with open arms. They greet me with open arms,
give
and
you
they
big
treat me with
bear
respect.
hugs.
He answers 1 or 2 of my questions before they kick me in the head, and that's it.
So does this signal?
He's joking.
I'm joking.
Metaphorically speaking, getting kicked in the head, just being asked to leave. But we got a little more than a minute left. Does this betray a growing nervousness from the Democratic consultants and those managing Charlie Crist's campaign? Because say what you will about Charlie, he's always been a hail fellow, well met.
Right.
Publicly visiting with everybody.
Right, I have nothing against Charlie Crist. Him and I get along very well. I think it does show a little weakness on their part and a little fear, if you would, because you look at the Republican Party and Governor Rick Scott. They don't boot their Democrat trackers, especially the American Bridge trackers, who put all these videos of him. There's liberal leftist group, American Bridge. They don't boot him out. They embrace him. They let him stay. So I don't understand their.
So you think this is fear?
I think so. I think for the most part, and like what Mark Caputo said, he said, what are they afraid of? I mean, my camera, because maybe I'll catch a stupid gotcha moment on their part and put it out there so the world
Well,
can see.
we just saw one there on your blog, shark-tank.com.
Yes.
Got it right? Javier Manjarres, as always, appreciate
My
it.
pleasure.
Working on rolling that R, brother. I'm trying to
You're
get it
doing
done.
pretty good there.
We're rolling right on with America's Forum. We'd
Yes.
love to get your take on the Florida race. Is Charlie Crist and company getting a little bit too nervous? Why don't you tweet us your comments at Newsmax TV, #America's Forum.